And welcome everyone to the Fibromyalgia Community Conference. Come on in. Let us know where you're streaming in from. Say hello. We have a lot of special presentations lined up today. So, welcome to everybody. Come on in and enjoy a full day. And there's a lot of inspiration for today. We're going to see themes of hope, community, caregiving, and a lot of advocacy. So I welcome all of you to the Fibromyalgia Community Conference, the Support Fibromyalgia Network, and our Team Fibro Friends, along with Freddie J's Fibro Fighters. We welcome you here to this conference that we're organizing together, 10 days straight of information. Welcome, Karen. It's so good to see you tuning in. We appreciate you tuning into so much content. Hello, Peggy. It's so good to see you. I know we're representing a lot around the country, so it's exciting, and around the world. I am Melissa Talwar. I am the executive director of the Support Fibromyalgia Network. I'm also a board certified functional medicine health coach. The Support Fibromyalgia Network is a national nonprofit focused on patient education, medical education, group health coaching, research expansion, and advocacy training, along with the launch of collaborative care. So we're so excited to present this conference to you and spread it wide. Please like and share to all your fibromyalgia friends and groups so people can get the benefit of the education and connecting with community leaders all around the world. I'm excited to be joined by two awesome co-hosts today. I'm thrilled to see them both with me, and I appreciate their time. Danielle, why don't you give a shout out and let everybody know where you're streaming from?
Hey everyone, I'm Danielle Patilli. I am in North Carolina. I am a fibro warrior and patient advocate, and I'm really excited to be here and have our next speaker because this is something I want to get more educated on. So I hope everyone can learn from her as well.
And Mrs. Q, where are you streaming in from? And let people know who you represent.
Hi everyone, I'm Miss Q. Most of you see me around on social media. I am the CEO and founder of Freddie J's Fibromyalgia Fighters. I also run the podcast Pretty in Pain podcast. We are a nonprofit organization that goes across the country, or we support those who are in need of fibro education, support, and resources to live a better life with fibromyalgia. I'm so glad to be here today. The conference is something that's very needed. Everyone talks about education and the resources they need to have a better life with fibromyalgia, and this is the conference for it. So, hello everyone, and I am coming in from Michigan.
Woohoo! Michigan represent. If you're from Michigan, tune in, let us know. And we're excited to have you here, Mrs. Q, because this is awesome. I know to have you include you with the questions, and it's fun. You've been taking some also classes, and I'm glad that you're able to tune in with us and share. And we have a special presentation from you too at the end of the broadcast, besides asking you a few questions, so that way people can get more acquainted with your organization.
Sure.
Okay, well, I know that we are waiting for Michelle. She is backstage. She's going to give us a wonderful presentation. So we will bring her on and get the presentation started. I'm excited for this. And we have her book too. So everybody out there, I know we've been trying to do giveaways, so we'll have some more ways to do it. It seems like every time we try to do a giveaway with a hashtag, that hashtag brings in the spammers. So we've had to figure something out. It's either it crashes our book, or it's like it just so frustrating. So we'll figure it out. I know Michelle has been generous too with sharing content. We appreciate her. I've seen her very active with sharing the conference. So I'm going to bring her to the stage. Let's get an introduction, and she'll be up in just a moment.
I just want to say
to
Cassandra.
Oh, okay. Yes. Oh,
and she's been here every day. So.
Well, and Cassandra is the one, so she is getting the full kit because she actually remembered the classes that I was taking. So not only does she get the fascia balls, but she's going to get, or orbs. Oh my gosh, I keep referring them as that. But she gets a full kit plus all of the books. So she's going to get a lot of a package coming soon. Hello, Daniel is awesome. I got your email, so we have a reply. Congratulations on being a new grandpa. That's amazing. and he's tuning in from Pennsylvania, and I hope we get to see him when we go to Washington, D.C. Oh, look, it's Lois. Hello, Lois. So good to see you tuning in. We got to feature Lois, and we'll share the link. Actually, she did a podcast with Mrs. Q talking about all the support group information she does. She's been a tremendous support group leader over there. So we definitely want to highlight her work. And Crystal is here. Hello, Crystal. Welcome. Come on in. We're going to see Crystal a lot in the next few days for Veteran Voices for Fibromyalgia. She's going to take over the conference, and we're going to hear from veterans and active military, which is very much needed. I know someone asked that question somewhere, if anyone is representing veterans at this conference, and definitely. So that will be on the stage tomorrow, and then we'll see Crystal again for some Pause for Fibro excitement on Saturday as well. Okay, well, we're checked in with some of the people here. Thank you. Keep on tuning in. Like this broadcast wherever you're tuning in from Facebook and YouTube, and be sure to share. So I'm going to get an introduction started. We ready?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm so excited to bring Michelle to the stage. And Turning Pain into Strength tells the true story of a once spirited wife and mother whose life changed dramatically when she tripped one step in her basement. Guided by a profit-driven medical experts into a life of dark addiction, surgical disasters, and relentless chronic pain, Michelle's life deteriorated without warning. She fast became exposed to the deeply embedded corruption of the American healthcare system and was brutally forced into a life of new challenges. Through her journey about the medical field and the benefits of good nutrition, she combined herself with knowledge and gained from all of the industry-leading rehabilitation programs. Michelle is well equipped to manage the effects of chronic pain without the need for regular high doses of pharmaceutical medications. So I know it took over a decade to build the knowledge she possesses now, and that's why we're excited to have her on stage. I know this is just going to be part one for an interview series. So let's bring Michelle onto the stage to share with us.
Hi, guys.
Hello,
Hey.
Michelle.
Hi. I am coming in from Cape Coral, Florida today. It's very cold here today.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
In Florida weather, you're having some cool weather, but is that good to the benefit? Like, I don't know how cold. I'm in California, so people make fun of me when I say it's cold.
It is cold, and you can feel it in your body right away. So we moved from Chicago to Florida because of the weather and for my son being here. But it's the heat does play a nice role with the muscles and the pain and stuff. But when the cold weather kicks in, it's not as bad as Chicago or Michigan weather, but it definitely hurts. So.
Well, we're glad you could join us today. And as I mentioned before, I know we feel like we're skipping ahead. We need to do a more comprehensive interview with you about your health journey. So that'll be the next installment for all of our fibromyalgia friends out there. So we can dive into more of the details of the book. I know your presentation today is going to be highlighting aspects of caregiving. So an important highlight for today. But I do want to mention that this will just be the first connection that we made with Michelle. And I'm so excited and glad that Carrie encouraged you to reach out to join this. And then you reached out, and that's why it's going to be a full day. And like I said, there's going to be themes of advocacy, hope, and inspiration, and then caregivers.
We seem to forget a little bit about the caregivers. It's always about the patient and what we can do to make ourselves feel better. But I feel like the caregivers are kind of put to the back. Like they have a job to do it, put a smile on your face, and we tend to forget about them a little bit. So I wanted to just bring a couple of things that we can do to help our caregivers.
Well, wonderful. I'm going to bring up the presentation, and we're going to have you take this stage. Danielle, Mrs. Q, myself are going to move backstage, but we're right there in case you need us. And then we'll be back after the presentation for some live Q&A with you.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
So
I'm going to talk about caregiver burnout and compassion fatigue, because like I said, we tend to forget about our caregivers and they burn out. There's only so much you can do as a caregiver to help your patients. Oh, I wanted to thank you for this opportunity. A little bit about my background. I was a stay-at-home mom and I was bringing bins of clothes down my basement stairs and I tripped on the last step with the bin behind me and I landed on my butt. It wasn't a big deal. I did not think that it would lead me on this crazy journey. But that led to a fractured back. And I didn't know it at the time, but I had degenerative disc disease. So when I did fall on the stair, my vertebrae cracked. So that ended up leading to a fusion several years later. I broke my back in 2006 and I had my surgery a year later. My kids were in hockey and I didn't want to be selfish and take care of myself. So I waited and got the surgery a year later. And it was only supposed to be like a 7-hour surgery. It was 13. Short version, they nicked the iliac artery and I almost died from the surgery and they left a surgical sponge in my abdomen where they did the surgery. So, and I didn't find out about that until 8 years later, even though I had gone to the emergency room just about every 6 months to a year in severe pain on my left side. And they would just say, it's kidney stones, it's, we don't know, we don't know what's wrong. So this went on for years. And finally, I got a CT scan and the ER doctor came in and said, you have something in your abdomen. And that ended up being the surgical sponge. And it just threw my life upside down because after that, I got diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. And then after that, I got diagnosed with fibromyalgia. And it was just a lot on my body. So I decided to do online classes and become a certified health coach and try to help myself and help other people. And then I also wrote a book about my whole experience. So, yes, so I wasn't the only one that suffered. My husband did. My kids, my mom, everybody who was taking care of me were also suffering. And like I said, I thought it was nice to bring some attention to them and so that everyone understands kind of what they go through. So when you first become a caregiver, it could be new. So people are excited, they're getting the room all ready for you coming in, or if you're in your house, they're excited to take care of you. It's something new, it's a change, it's, a new role for them. But it becomes really exhausting. They're taking on your role and their role, and it just can become overwhelming for them. So you want to always acknowledge the sacrifices that they're making. Always say thank you and show that you appreciate them. Now, when they start getting kind of burned out, you're going to notice that they're a little irritable, they're a little snippy, could be distant and quiet. Sometimes if they volunteer to be your caregiver, it's a little bit easier because they think they're ready, they understand what you need. But if it was imposed on them unexpectedly, they might have a little bit of resentment. So you really want to be extra loving and have a lot of compassion towards them as well. Be thankful. The things that they're not able to do now, like, go to the gym or, take classes, anything that they would like to do might not be available anymore because they're busy taking care of you. So you don't want to be too hard on them. It's difficult and it's only natural for them to feel stressed, powerless. When I interviewed some caregivers for this, they said that one of the biggest things was not being able to fix their mom or their dad, and they have to see their loved one in pain every day or just declining in health. And it takes a toll on you when you see that. So you feel very powerless. Fearful, definitely fearful. A lot of them were uncertain of the future. They didn't know how long they would be able to care for their loved one. Some people have health issues themselves, and they're trying to take care of their spouse or their friend or their loved one. So it becomes pretty difficult. And we all know this very well. At least I do. I don't like asking for help. I don't really know anyone in my family that likes to ask for help. So that's usually interesting. But if you see your caregiver struggling, you definitely want to acknowledge it. You don't want to just ignore it. You want to open those lines of communication. You want to definitely ask them what's wrong, ask how you can help. You need to be a team always. Definitely need to show them appreciation. You can't take care of yourself, so how can you take care of them? Well, appreciation. A couple of thank yous when they bring you a hot cup of tea or a hug, encouraging them. Tell them to go ahead and take a class or something that they love to do, or send into taking up a new hobby, something that they can do for themselves. Again, communication, it's always got to be open. One of the most important things I learned is not to say you. You made me sad. You made me angry. You should always say, I feel sad or I'm feeling angry. This way, if it's something that you're not getting from your caregiver or you're feeling a certain way, you don't need to put them on the defense when you say you're making me angry or you're making me sad. Just say, I'm feeling sad. Can we talk about it? Depending on your level of disability, you can hire support. At $20 an hour, at least here in Florida, it's like $20 an hour. You can hire another caregiver, so that your caregiver can go out to dinner, go out to the movies. Like one time a month, it would be like $40, and your caregiver can get a break. They can get a picnic and go to the park, read a book, go for a bike ride, a walk, all the things that they can get them to do out of the house. Kindness, it's just so simple, but when you're in a lot of pain, sometimes I seem to forget my kindness, and you got to try harder. They're here helping us and taking care of us, and we have to be kind even on our worst pain days. And don't give up. They're supporting you, so don't give up on yourself. You keep fighting for yourself to be a better patient, so that they can be a better caregiver. Now, I like to use this red light, yellow light, green light thing. I learned this in therapy, and I've really used it a lot, and I thought maybe you guys would like it too. Red days, that's a hard day for us as patients and as caregivers. Say you're a caregiver and you're having a bad day. You got a migraine, you're not feeling well, you're overwhelmed, and you just don't want to give it 100% today. You don't have the energy. And we know this as pain patients, right? You have a red day. It's like, don't talk to me, find your own dinner. I'm going to bed, and maybe I'll see you tomorrow. So for a caregiver, it's a red day, but you still got to have manners. You got to have compassion. You've got to appreciate them. Even though you both may be having a red day or just one of you are having a red day, try your hardest to find your please and thank yous and a little appreciation. On the yellow day, it's probably our average middle of the day. I probably think we have more of these, at least I hope so. A yellow day is like we're right in the middle. We're feeling okay, but we're not our best. And then on those days, you can make more of an effort to show your appreciation and kindness to them. You let them know you're making a difference in your life, probably suggest these things like go for a bike ride, go for a walk. I can handle myself. I don't need anything for the next couple of hours. Go out and do something for yourself. Green day. We love green days. We're doing a great day. We are doing everything that we couldn't do the entire week into this one day, and then tomorrow we'll have a red day. But for our green day, let's include our caregivers in the green day. help them maybe a little bit that day. If you're able to sit maybe and fold laundry or go out to lunch with them, that's even better. And they see that you're making an effort to go out. Do something good for yourself on the green day so that you feel better. And then they can have a pleasant green day as well. So I like using this stoplight method for my family to communicate. I like to be like, today's a red day, you're on your own. And then my husband will be like, all right, today's a green day. What are we going to do? So we kind of like the stoplight method. It also helps when you're not good communicators. I know someone that has the stoplight picture on their fridge and they have a little magnet on where they are that day. So whatever you need to do. I definitely would love to help anyone for free. What can I do to help you guys help yourselves? The best thing I did is when I was on high doses of pain medication, I went into a rehab program where I learned all these tricks and tools to help myself. So these are some of the things that I learned, and that was practicing self-care for ourselves. That is probably the most important thing. Caregivers, when I interviewed them, said that it's very hard for them to practice self-care. They feel selfish. They feel like if they're taking care of themselves, they should be putting that energy into taking care of their loved one. And that's just not the way it has to work. You can't take care of somebody if you're not taking care of yourself. So these were just a few things that you can share with your caregiver, or if you are a caregiver. The nutrition, it is so beneficial to eat healthy. If you are the patient, we know that if we're eating Taco Bell and pizzas, we are not going to feel well. So you need to help your caregiver and yourself to stop eating sugar and those processed foods. They are horrible for our fibro bodies. So you want to make sure that you read about anti-inflammatory foods. It's so important. Breath work. I watched a couple of people in the conference and they talked a lot about breathing. And it's funny because it's so simple, but I forget to do it every day. And when I do remember, it is such a beneficial tool just to connect with your body and breathe. And that really kind of sets the whole day. If you do it every morning, just sit there, gather your thoughts, and just take a deep breath and see how you're going to feel. Movement, definitely have to move around. With fibromyalgia, if we just lay in bed all day, our muscles just concrete. Basically, we have to keep stretching and moving, and doing those basic yoga stretches are amazing. And I wanted to explain the Feldenkrais method. I don't know if anyone is familiar with that, but I learned this method of therapy and it is amazing. And I did want to share it with you. It is not like yoga and it's not difficult on the body. It is a mind body slow movement therapy that really connects your mind and parts of your body that are painful. And I can talk more about that at another time. But if you want to look into that, I think you would find it very beneficial. Yeah, you have to be consistent with yourself. You need to remember on your bad days that you're just having a bad day. Tomorrow will be better. And you just have to keep trying and keep believing in yourself and never stop fighting. And then when your caregiver is having that bad day, you can help them to remember that it's just a bad day. I know we've all heard about the chakra healing. You can learn about that through the meditation and healing. One of the best beneficial ways to clear your chakras and learn about it is laying on the ground. People think that that's kind of weird, but just sitting in nature on the grass just brings a sense of calmness to you. And that's something you can even do with your caregiver. So it might be a kind of fun little thing. I don't know if you've ever heard of biofeedback therapy. When I first went into rehab and they told me that I was going to be doing this, I was like, this is crazy. And one of the examples was the therapist said to me, all right, where's your pain? And I said, in my back, all over. And he said, okay. And he walked me through the story of you're sitting in a room, you're There's the birds are chirping outside. It was this whole descriptive story that I actually started falling into with him. And it literally is about 30 minutes of any story, and it just takes your mind off of your pain. And like I said, I was so doubtful at first about this, but it made such a huge difference that I was able to use my mind to get it off of the physical pain that I was having. So I suggest you guys look into that too, and maybe we'll do a class on that. Well, definitely a massage can help stress. I mean, that's something that's amazing for you and your caregiver. Maybe if you're able to get them a little gift certificate to get a massage to help reduce stress, maybe you can do it together. But that helps reduce inflammation and promotes flexibility, getting a massage. Essential oils, everyone has heard of them. Those help a lot. I don't know if anyone diffuses them, but it does reduce the stress when I'm having a really bad day. You put on, they have stresses called happiness. I mean, who doesn't want that? So I put that in the diffuser and I diffuse that all day. So that helps. It really helps a lot. You can also mix them with almond oil and put them on your joints, and that helps too. But the bottom line is that you can always find ways to improve your condition, but you have to put in the effort and knowledge and awareness. So basically, my presentation was about acknowledging and taking care of your caregivers. I now live with fibromyalgia and rheumatoid arthritis and my surgical sponge friend too. And I have found ways to manage my pain through healthy living and dedication to myself. And I'm always taking care of my caregiver with these kind of options for them. So you just have to keep fighting. I do bracelets also, and I did it as a therapy to get my mind off of my pain when my back was fused. So I would do bracelets in bed, and it is something over the last 15 years that I really like. And so I just keep doing them to help people not feel so alone and raise awareness. And these are the 3 that we're actually donating to the conference. So the hosts can share those. And I just want to thank you for my presentation and for joining me. And I'm always available for you guys.
Well, this was a wealth of knowledge, and I like that you've added some great tips for people out there. And for all our caregivers out there, please put in the chat like what tools you're using and how you're getting through, because we're going to get into this a little bit more and making sure you are following through on the self-care. Oops. So Michelle, I thank you for your presentation. We're hearing a lot of people saying hello, Michelle, and Cassandra was engaged in self-care. So this is good. So this is good news. And I want to defer to my co-hosts as well with some of their questions. And I know Mrs. Q has a lot of experience on this side as well. So Mrs. Q, how about you with your questions and managing sort of being a caregiver with a chronic illness condition?
Oh, for me, or the question do I have for Michelle? Which one did you want?
Michelle or both, because I think this is also a good time to just have an open discussion since Michelle added some tips into the presentation as well.
So Michelle, what was your turning point when you started kind of turning things around, where you were able to benefit and help your caregiver and still deal with your rheumatoid? You had an awesome story, and I was just in the backstage like, oh my God, and stuff. So with the sponge, did it cause a lot of did a lot of your pain level come down once they removed the
I have
sponge?
pain every day from the sponge that's in my abdomen. When I found out about it 8 years later, because the doctors were very hush-hush about it.
Okay.
Once I got to the 8-year mark, that's when they told me, because I couldn't sue them for the sponge in my stomach because of the statute of limitations. And that kind of spiraled me into a downward spiral of using my pain medication to medicate emotionally. And I hit rock bottom with my family. And it was then that I almost got in a car accident with my son under the influence of drugs, pain medication. That was my rock bottom.
Okay.
And I turned it around. I said, I'm not going to live like this anymore. I had to do this for my family, who were my caregivers at the time. So I signed up for rehab immediately, and I turned my whole life around that day.
Do you think rehab was necessary, or do you think you would have been able to kind of navigate that without rehab? Because I know a lot of people are on opioids and things like that, and like even when I came off, I came off cold turkey. My doctor was angry at me because he was like, "That's dangerous." So, do you think that going into a rehab was the best choice when you're talking about coming off of Class A meds, or do you think that it's something that a person can navigate usually on their own?
I definitely could not have done it on my own. I always believed self-care was selfish. So doing something for myself meant I felt very selfish. So, and I did not have the tools to do it on my own. The only tools I was using was pain meds. So I had to learn nutrition. I had to learn stretching. I had to learn the Feldenkrais method that I still use every day because it just shifts your pain a little bit. I would have never learned any of those tools unless they were given to me.
What's the name of that method again? I'm not catching it.
Feldenkrais method. It's from the 19th century, and it's just amazing. It just takes your mind connection to your pain and shifts it. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's a mind-body connection with slow fluid movements, and it's kind of magic. It's kind of magical.
I'm going to be looking that up. And is it Felden?
Yes, I will have it. We can put that on this website, but it is Felden, Felden, Krais.
Okay. I'll definitely be looking into that. And that worked wonders for you. Was that something that really turned your pain around for you and able?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, wow. I mean, honestly, there's no cure for our pain. I mean, there's just tools that help us feel better so that we can do some things that are normal.
And you try until you find that norm for you.
And then sometimes that doesn't work. You know, I won't be able to lay down on the floor or sit in a chair. So find another tool for that day. You know, maybe it is an essential oil or some music or going to bed.
When it comes to caregivers, do they have, like in Michigan, we don't have a lot of caregiver programs where they will educate you. And is that something usually you can find online where caregivers, do you recommend that caregivers maybe take a class or get educated? How do you feel that the caregivers can understand what they're going into being a caregiver, because it's such a big piece of chronic pain?
Right. Well, I think if you know you can handle it and you know that you can take care of somebody, you know, like I know I could probably take care of my husband if he needed it,
right,
to an extent, then I would have to find more help. So you definitely have to find resources. If it's given to you and you can't, you know, like say your parent becomes ill and you need to take care of them. That's kind of unexpected. So you're not really ready. You're not really like volunteering for this. You're given this opportunity. You got to take a course. You got to understand what you're getting into. I think that's my opinion. But if I'm like, hey, I can take care of you. You have a broken leg. I can take care of you for 6 to 8 weeks. That's short term. You know what the person needs. But a long-term illness, you got to have your tools in your pocket.
Absolutely. Can you tell us a little bit of like how it affected your family before you were able to go into rehab, and just how you got to the point where you said, okay, I understand that you got in a car accident, but how
almost. I had started dozing off at the wheel, driving my sons to school because I was filled with pain medication. And my son screamed, "Mom," and I hit the brakes,
Wow.
preventing that accident. So it is a moment that I'm absolutely not proud of, but
Mhm.
nothing bad happened, thank goodness. And it was the rock bottom that I needed to get off of the pain medication.
Okay. And how do you balance self-care into your life now, you and the
It's a
caregiving?
full-time job. My self-care is a full-time job because the moment you open your eyes what's going on, and then
Exactly.
I just start going through my toolbox of what I can do, what's going to help. The first thing is eating healthy. I did not realize how much food played a role in my pain, and
Yes.
that was pretty eye-opening for me.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
but that wasn't your question. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm having a brain fog day as well. How do you balance it? How does your caregiver balance self-care as well? How do you balance it? Because I know you probably have a busy lifestyle, and caregiving is a lifestyle as well because that's what they're doing a lot of
Right,
time. So how do
right.
you balance? Even make it for me, make having my caregivers the ones that help me a lot. It's hard for them to even understand that they need to do self-care themselves. So how do you balance it and make sure that person gets what they need as well?
Communication. You
Mhm.
cannot assume that they know that they need self-care, because if it was the other way around, if someone said, "Hey, you need to go get a massage." Yeah, right. I've got things to do. I'm too busy. I have someone to take care of. You don't make the time for your self-care. So a suggestion, a gift card, hey, let's maybe go for a walk, just those little things that they may
Right.
not think of, because they've got 100 things going on, but you've got to take self-care. Maybe buy them a new bath bubbles or something, just so that they're reminded that they have to take care of themselves.
Okay. All right, Melissa, that's all the questions I have. Anybody else have questions?
Well, I'll
I
throw it
think
over to Danielle.
Mhm.
well, I think what you're saying about communication also it makes sense to also communicate, right? Like you were saying, your capabilities, because then if you say, "Oh, today I'm okay, like I don't need help," then they can go and do what they need for themselves.
On a green
If
day.
otherwise they're sitting and waiting to help you, right?
Right. And then it's like, leave me alone. I don't need you, I'm being
Yeah.
independent today.
I was gonna ask, I don't know if you know, but like we have a lot of support groups for ourselves.
Right.
I don't know if there would be anything, support groups for caregivers. I feel like that should be something, or if you know if that is a thing or
There is. I have a whole list of them that I was going to put, like once this presentation, I was then going to add, once it's posted, all the websites for caregivers.
okay, yeah, that's great. I feel like that is so important, and we don't realize, I feel like, I mean, I feel guilty a lot, and I feel like guilt is a lot of an emotion that is in like a cycle when it
Right.
comes to caregiving. Like I feel guilt for like asking for help, and then like my mom will feel guilty if she wants to go help herself or something. So then it's just like a cycle of guilt.
It
And
is.
how I mean, I don't know if you can answer this, like, because I feel like a lot of people have that guilt. How do you feel like we can get out of that guilt
It
cycle?
takes work. It really does, but it can be done because you didn't ask for these conditions. You didn't ask to be sick. You want to go out and be a productive human, but you can't. You were dealt these cards. That's not your fault. And hopefully you have a caregiver that understands that part. I know that there are some people that have caregivers that are less than kind, and I'm sorry for that. That's awful. But you have to remember, you don't deserve this, you know, and your caregiver, they're doing this because they love you. They're not doing this because they have nothing better to do, or they love you. They're taking care of you, and there's no reason to feel any guilt. There isn't, and you just have to work on it. Tell yourself every morning, I don't deserve this, and that's okay. But self-care, you have to take care of yourself, and you should not feel guilty about doing it at all.
I think what you were saying about incorporating your caregiver into like your own healing, or like
Mhm.
I think that will help too, because I never even thought of that. Like if I'm doing breathing techniques or something and I want to like relax and I'm like with my mom or something, I can be like, "Hey,
Mhm.
let's do some like meditation," or like, "Oh, here I have these essential oils, like let's use them." Like I never thought to be like, "Let's do this together," you know?
Right.
Like,
And it creates a little bit of a bond too, a nice bond other than, I need my medicine or I need food or,
yeah.
it's something that can help both of you.
Yeah. I think that would be really helpful in that guilt aspect too, because
Yeah.
it's like almost in a way you're helping them, even though you're also helping yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I love all these questions, and this is a conversation that needs to happen more often amongst caregivers. And, like you mentioned, additional support, what's needed and encouraged for our caregivers out there to take self care and also not feel guilty about taking that time. I know I see that a lot in some of the group health coaching I do. And so I always remind them, you've shown up for yourselves for an hour twice a month, so once the group is done, you can replicate it. Everything was okay while you were here. And so
Right.
it's that training to be like, okay, you can take the time for yourself and do these things. And your background in nutrition is tremendous too, because sometimes people forget, the caregiver forgets about themselves. But
Mhm.
remember, as a family or with each other or partners and stuff, you can eat together. So your caregiving cook
Right.
also all together and
Right.
incorporating that. Is that something that you did too with your family?
We kind of like just camped out in bed when I was recovering from surgery. It was a place where we all came in and ate and watched TV and hung out after the surgeries. And
Okay.
I've had 13 of them, so had
Well, just
quite a bit.
giving permission to people to practice self-care on both sides and then encouraging it to happen together, and taking time to enjoy things together is
Yes,
also an important piece. Like there's a lot that could be happening. You can still have joy doing activities together and there may be some adjustments, but it can still happen.
right.
Um,
When I was learning how to walk again, the kids were always like by my side with the walker and they just cheer you on. It became like they were doing my therapy with me when the therapist would come to the house and they were like right there helping, and it's like a family affair. It just include everyone.
And this is the family dynamic and just making those adjustments. And we appreciate you being here with Michelle and starting this conversation too with the conference. I did want to ask, what is ahead for you in 2024 when it comes to advocacy? I hope this adds in even with coaching.
I started a chronic pain group here in Florida, so I'm hoping to get that up and bigger and better. We're still in the marketing stages of that. So I had a chronic pain support group in Illinois, so I want to bring that here, and then I'm just going to be health coaching my chronic pain patients the rest of the year.
Oh, that's fantastic. So we'll be sure to make sure that people can connect with you. I liked your presentation because you included the URL in there.
Yeah. Thank you
And
so much for having me. And I hope, everyone learned a little bit about caregiving.
yes, it was tremendous having you here. We appreciate you. So we're gonna move you to the backstage, and I know Julie is waiting in
Mhm.
the green room. So let's have Julie come back on. We're gonna take a quick break just so we can make sure Julie is ready for the presentation. But what a huge conversation to address when it comes to caregiving at so many levels.
Yeah.
So many
I
levels.
I learned a lot, and I definitely am gonna go have my entire family watch this video.
I think what it is, a lot of times our family members are the ones taking care of us. We don't even, the word caregiver doesn't even kind of even download that that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times we do for each other, but we don't really it's hard enough for us to practice self-care and being heard. So when you have a caregiver that's doing everything, sometimes we forget all that they do, so till they get act out in frustration and thing. I think it's a very great conversation that we need to have. And I'm glad that we're having it, because a lot of times we don't look at our family members and others as caregivers. We just look at, hey, we're family and we're going to do, and we're going to make sure everything is okay. So,
Yeah, and I think Michelle's story is like so incredible. We definitely
yeah,
need to have her back to, have more conversations with her to spread her
absolutely.
story.
Well, we'll definitely be bringing her back in. And I'm seeing this too in the conversation. Guilt is a biggie. So many of us with the condition, we feel guilty, but then, our family members can feel guilty too. So there's a lot of guilt in this dynamics that come up a
Mhm.
lot. Also mentioned that self-care feels like definitely a full-time job, managing our health.
Mhm.
And so this is important topics too, even leading into what Julie is going to talk about when we're managing a job, even part-time, and we're managing our healthcare, which is full-time. So I really appreciate this conversation. And again, please continue connecting with everybody in social media, have these conversations, set up things, workshops, groups as well. So we're going to share more information of like how to connect with Michelle. And then also we'll definitely ask her about that group in Florida to learn more. We want to create more databases of information where people can connect with all of you and all the wonderful resources everyone is sharing. So it's just important community, right? That's the emphasis, building this community, knowing that all of you are not alone out there. So if there's one takeaway from this whole conference is you're not alone, and there's many of us that you can connect with. This is a
Yeah,
community of love and support.
absolutely. Absolutely. I think that was one of the main things when I first started trying to pull myself out of the dark hole I was in. Is like, there's nobody out there, and then I realized there was a lot of people out there. You just gotta go seek the knowledge and things like that. I mean, it was a time where there was nothing out there. So now, especially with a conference like this, you're getting everything in one place. It's just an awesome situation. I just love it.
It is. And I know we have a few more minutes because we're trying to time it to take our break before.
Hmm.
And we'll be hearing from Mrs. Q2 at the end to share her presentation of hope for our community. And tomorrow, just to give the itinerary again for people tuning in, we have a quite a packed day as well for tomorrow. So we have pediatric pain in the morning. We're going to do a live Q&A with US Pain Foundation, Nicole and Casey. We have Dr. Salebi is going to be on the stage talking about LDN and cannabis. Coach Wendy is going to be on the stage as well presenting. She has a new cookbook out there for autoimmune paleo. So she's going to be presenting more on nutrition and health coaching. Then we're going to take a little bit of a break and we're going to move into later in the day where it's going to be Crystal and her team at Veteran Voices for Fibromyalgia. We have a great presentation that she's prepared with Evan and Al. So we're going to hear also from veterans with fibromyalgia and then more men with fibromyalgia. Then Saturday, we bring in Dale from the UK. We're going to hear from Arushi in India and get some creativity going. Arushi is going to be presenting a lot of poetry. Dale is going to share his photography and creativity, which is impeccable. I encourage everyone to go check out his photography website and his blog about fibromyalgia. He just shares so much with all this photography. It's very soothing. He's out taking pictures, so I'm excited for him to share the presentation. We're going to bring in the Pause for Fibro live stream with Crystal and King Cody over there and the crew. They're all going to be there having fun. So get your pets ready for this. Bring all your pets into this as well to have some fun. And then we're going to end it with Dr. Ginevra is going to be presenting some of the latest research in fibromyalgia. So there's still a few more days to go with this content. And I may surprise everyone with another time warp on Sunday, which wasn't scheduled. So it's impromptu. Everything has been live, but we've had a lot of requests for content from last year. You can watch the content from 2022's Fibromyalgia Conference. It's all available online for free, just like the content here is all available for you to watch on YouTube and Facebook as well. So keep continuing to share and keep content going. Oh, I forgot. How could I forget too? Later today at 3 p.m., we will be hearing from Nikki and Quentin
Yeah.
Lott. So they're going to reemphasize the idea of caregiving with Quentin and giving feedback too with having chronic illness condition. So that's going to be streamed on YouTube. We're going to have a live chat. Facebook has been giving us a lot of problems for some reason. For anything that's in Zoom crossing over. So we will upload that video, but the live chat will occur on YouTube at 3 p.m. for heart, faith, and strengths content. So we're going to take a quick break and we're going to get Julie up here very shortly.
At 29 and I find myself wondering what did happen to the last 10. I ran away with my life, fast forward, never turn back again. It's kind of funny that the more we pass time, the more we need to set the rewind. And 19 was the year I had to leave you, but now I'm seeing all the signs. Is this really happening? I can't believe it's true. I'm just as surprised as you. Is this really happening? I can't be too sure, but one day I'll be yours again. Life lessons come one in a dozen. The other 11 give something from nothing. I sit here looking for an answer. Maybe the biggest question was in the last chapter. You gave me the soul I have today. Without you I never could have moved away. But now I see what you teach. I do believe I always should have stayed. Yeah. Is this really happening? I can't believe it's true. I'm just as surprised as you. Is this really happening? I can't be too sure, but one day I'll be yours again. One day I'll be One day I'll be yours. One day I'll be yours. Life lessons come one in a dozen. The other 11 give something from nothing. Life lessons come one in a dozen. The other 11 give something from nothing. Life lessons come one in a dozen. The other 11 give something from nothing. Life changes just open the door. One thing's certain, I'll always be yours. At 29 and I find myself wondering what did I never really know what's going on. Look at me sometimes like all you want to do is run. Hear me out, hear me out. It's all the things you never show. There are the things
Hello, hello, Fibro friends. Come on back in. We're going to start the programming and introduce Julie to the stage. So we're going to welcome you back in. Let's remove the banner of branding, and we'll bring us back to the stage ourselves. Oops. I'm here. Okay, let's bring on the co-hosts from backstage. We are back here. Ooh, this is a big one. We get a lot of questions on this for surviving our work life. And I know there's going to be tons of questions for this. For those of you that are working and even for remote, it's changed the game when it comes to this and accommodations and what we can do to ask different questions. So I am thrilled to have Julie presenting. She has a wealth of knowledge to share. She also has a book, and we're going to encourage people to go purchase that. We're going to be doing some giveaways as well. So anyone that has really participated in this, you're already included in getting her book. So you'll be getting a copy as well in that package for those of you that have been participating a lot for today as well. So Michelle's book, Julie's book, we have a lot of great authors. We're going to just summarize it too in a blog, so that way people can have a place where they can purchase the book and copies, because I know I love books. So this is why I just always give away books to people. I'll be like, read, get the knowledge, share the knowledge for everybody here. So let's do our introduction of Julie, and then we'll bring her onto the stage. Julie Hamilton has over 20 years of human resource management experience and has been a certified fibromyalgia coach for over 7 years. She was diagnosed with fibromyalgia in 2009. As a human resources director, she knew the resources to use as Family Medical Leave Act and workplace accommodations to help her with the tasks she was struggling with. She didn't need to worry about her job when she needed to take time off for flare days or medical appointments. She went from missing 2 to 4 days per month to missing 2 days or less a year. Then, after relocating to Ohio, her chronic illness made it impossible for her to work. That is when she studied to become a certified fibromyalgia coach, and she learned to manage her fibromyalgia. She's gone from being in bed 90% of her life to walking 3 miles a day, and even participated in her first 10K. Oh, wow, this is so cool. Gonna have to talk more about that. She now helps professionals who have fibromyalgia maintain their career and regain their active social life. Her goal is to help companies create an inclusive environment for the chronically ill and assisting them in implementing policies to benefit both the employee and the company. She understands what it takes to make it work and can educate the company and the employee on how this collaboration can work. Boy, this is definitely needed, Julie. So we're excited to bring you up here. Let's add you to the stage. You are here on the stage with us, and we're going to hide the banner. Welcome, Julie.
Hi.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here and to share my passion with everyone else. So welcome.
You were excited. Where are you streaming in from?
I live in a suburb of Phoenix, so I'll explain why I live here and during my talk. But yeah, I live here and I'm thriving, so it's the best place for me.
Well, we love hearing how people can reclaim their health and thrive. And then your added information too on advocating for us when we have work jobs and doing these things, because employers need to know. They may not even intentionally know that they're excluding people with disabilities and all these accommodations, but
Yep.
The education needs to get out there. I'm sure many of us agree out there. So we're going to bring your presentation.
I'm really excited. I get frustrated a lot when I hear people say certain things about the workplace, and I'm like, you don't even know that that's not right. And so
Yeah,
I'm very excited to talk
exactly.
afterwards.
Great. So
Well, let's bring your presentation to the stage, and then afterwards we will get into a live Q&A with you.
okay.
So myself, Mrs. Q, and Danielle, we're going to move backstage, and we're going to let you have the platform. So let's start removing us and putting us back here. And take it away, Julie.
All right. Well, again, welcome everyone. I'm Julie Hamilton. I have a lot to share this morning, so let's just dive right into it. Kind of what we're going to talk about today is the faces of chronic illness. What does that look like? With that, I'll share again what my story or my journey with fibromyalgia has been. I'll talk about chronic illness at work. Excuse me. What are some of the laws or legalities that can come in place, policies companies should have, things that you should be aware of and utilize? And then we'll talk a little bit on how to talk to your boss. It's one of the biggest questions I get a lot is how do I talk to my boss? How much do I tell him? I think it's important that you know your why. Why do you do what you do? Why do you want to feel better? Why do you want to put the work in? Why are you still working? Know your whys. And then at the end, I'll let you know how you can connect with me. So the faces of fibromyalgia. Yes, all those faces are me. Um, as Melissa mentioned, I was diagnosed in 2019 with fibromyalgia. At first, I didn't know what it was. I'm sure so many people out there are just like that. So I did as much research as I could. I started taking some medications and really started to feel better. I was walking 3 miles a day, almost daily, probably 5 to 6 times a week. Um, that type of thing. Eventually got off the medications and I wasn't missing work. I was able to adjust things, um, my work schedules, my start times, my end times, things like that. But what really helped me in that time period was I was in HR. I was in HR for 20, 25 years total. But during that time, I was the HR director of a medical in the medical field and I had fibro. So I knew exactly what I could utilize to make myself feel better, how I could go to work every day, how I could, cover when I wasn't at work, those type of things. And we'll talk about those a little bit later. Then when I moved to Cincinnati, Ohio, my health tanked. I'm going to be honest. It just tanked. I couldn't work. I was in bed all the time. So that's the picture you see there on the left with me with my little eye mask on there, covering my eyes because I was in bed. It was like I had the bad case of the flu times 10, and I'm sure you all know what that feels like when you're in a flare. My body was in a flare for 4 years. I just felt horrible, and no matter what I did, I couldn't get out of it. But during that time is really when did a lot of research, did a lot of studying. I became the certified coach. In both fibromyalgia and life coach. And I started my own business in January of 2016. But I continued to feel horrible for the next 2.5 years. So the middle picture you'll see is I'd gained a lot of weight and I had a lot of inflammation. This is at the peak of my flare. I just didn't even want to go on anymore. I told my husband we have to figure something out. I don't want to live. I don't want to live. And I'm sure we all have some dark days like that. And I remember this day very well. It was a Valentine's Day of 2019. We had a big dinner at the church, and I didn't want to go because I didn't feel good. And he made me get up, get dressed, beautify myself, and go. And you can just tell in that picture, I don't feel good and I look horrible. We decided to try out a couple climates, and we found that Arizona was the best for me. And that's what you see on the right there is me thriving now. I've been walking. I was participated in a 10K where I was walking. This week from Sunday, I'm participating in my first 5K and I'm actually running it. And yes, I'm wearing a shirt that says running with chronic illness because I want everyone to know how hard it is for us to even show up and be who we are on a daily basis. So that's kind of my journey. And those are my different faces, and you can see how it's affected me personally. So let's talk about you in the workplace. There's so many um, policies that you can take advantage of with a chronic illness, whether it's fibromyalgia, lupus, um, chronic migraines, anything like that. So the first thing is FMLA, excuse me, Family Medical Leave Act. It is a law that will protect your job when you need to be off work due to your chronic illness. So it so let's say you're off for a flare, it will cover those days you're absent. It covers those times that you need to go to the doctor with regard to your medical condition. It protects your job. It doesn't count against your attendance. You cannot be fired for that time if those absences are applied under the FMLA. Excuse me. Accommodations. So that's where you take your job description and look at what task you're struggling with. Okay. So we'll go over that a little bit more as well in a few minutes. ADA is Americans with Disabilities Act. It protects anyone with a disability. Okay. Yes, chronic illness, fibromyalgia, lupus, those things can be considered a chronic illness or a disability. But one thing we have to remember when we're looking at that, as you all know, disabilities can be invisible. So you're not going to see, that cane and you can tell somebody's disabled, or the walker, you can tell they're disabled. With us, it's all inside. It's inside of our body, it's inside of our brains, all of that. So people say, well, you look fine, so you must be healthy. Well, in reality, we're not because you can't see that we're disabled. Excuse me. The next one is HIPAA, Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. Protects your privacy regarding your health. So this came into play in the 90s, I believe it was, when Arthur Ashe was in the hospital with AIDS, and it was released to the public by the hospital, by the doctors, by the nurses, by the medical professionals, that he was there with this condition, and he didn't want anybody to know. So that's really how this law was devised. So when you're talking to someone in your workplace, your manager, your HR, your director, whatever level it is, and you're telling them they need to follow the HIPAA because that's private, that's confidential. They shouldn't be talking about that with anybody else. Okay. So if they're in the lunchroom and they're talking to another manager and they're saying, well, Julie has this health condition and she's gone all the time because of her fibromyalgia. One, they shouldn't be talking about it in the lunchroom because anybody can hear. They shouldn't be telling any other manager or director. And what about the coworkers? What if you have special accommodations and a coworker comes up to them and says, well, why is Julie getting preferential treatment? Why doesn't she have to work weekends? Or why doesn't she have to do this? And they can't say, well, that's because she has a health condition and we have to make accommodations for her and she has fibro and she can't do that. Really, what they should be saying is, that's between us and Julie. Okay. And what we're here for is how we can accommodate that. And we're not talking about her condition with you. It's really none of your business. And I know that can be very harsh to some people to hear that, but it's not. It's not anybody else's business. why you get this preferential treatment. That's where that confidentiality comes in. The next thing is discrimination. You cannot be discriminated against because you have a disability. Okay. So if you feel that you're discriminated against, there's ways that you can report that. You can report it to your manager, your HR, your director. If those don't work, you can report it to the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the EEOC. There's a form that you fill out, and then they will go back with your employer, and that it can go back and forth like through mediation with that part. So if you feel that, you need to be your own advocate on that area and talk to somebody and report it. Okay. So let's talk about FMLA a little bit more because I think this is so important for everyone to know. Okay. So, under FMLA, which is again that Family Medical Leave Act, you have to have worked for the company for 12 months and have worked 1,250 hours within those 12 months. Okay. And when I'm talking about this portion, I'm really talking about a full time equivalent employee who works 40 hours a week. So, you can use it for your own serious medical condition. There are other conditions that apply, but for purposes today, I'm only talking about you and your health condition. Okay. So the first step is if you meet the first thing where you've worked there 12 months, worked 1,250 hours, and I don't have this on the slide, but if your employer has over 50 employees, that is a requirement as well. If you meet all of that criteria and your company meets the criteria, then you want to request your FMLA. You want to go to your manager, your boss, HR, whatever your chain of command is, okay? Tell them that you need the FMLA paperwork for a serious medical condition. So you can request that. They have 14 days, no, 7 days to get that to you. So you want to make sure that they get it to you within that time period. There is a section of that form that you complete. You take it to your doctor. There's a section they complete, and then you take it back to your employer, and there's a section they complete. Okay. This is very time sensitive. There's so many deadlines when it comes to FMLA. And if you ever have a question on that, ask somebody about it or send me a message or something because I have developed a FMLA checklist. And, if Melissa sends out notes or something, I can send it to her and she can send it out to anyone who requests it as well. Because there are so many deadlines. And if you don't meet the specified deadline, it can kick your paperwork out and make you ineligible. Okay. So that's why it's so important to meet that. Once you're on FMLA, that is good for 12 months. And it can give you up to 12 weeks of leave. So it's not that you want 12 weeks of leave at one time. You want to make sure that your doctor completes the paperwork as intermittent. Intermittent means that you're at work, you're off, you're at work, you're off. Where regular FMLA is where you're off for X amount of time. As you know, with fibromyalgia, we never know when that flare is going to happen. We never know how long it's going to happen. That's why it's important that it's intermittent. Okay. So it should cover those days that you're off for your flare, whether it's 1 day, 3 days, a week. Okay. It should cover that and secure your job for you. And that doesn't count against your attendance. So your company can't fire you because of your attendance. The other thing, it should cover when you're off work for a medical appointment related to your chronic illness, related to your fibro, related to your lupus, related to your chronic migraines. Doctor's appointments for those, not a doctor appointment because you have bronchitis or the flu or a cold. Okay, it's only to cover doctor appointments with regard to your serious illness. Accommodations. So, normally during a job interview, someone should ask, or whoever's interviewing, you should ask, can read through the job description, and then they should say, "Can you do this job with or without reasonable accommodations?" Okay, that's really where that lingo or language should first be presented to you. Okay. A reasonable accommodation is that it does not cause an undue hardship for the company. Undue hardship. Let me give you an example. And this is an extreme example, okay? I have fibromyalgia. So I need to have light sensitive, no noise, um, fragrance free, close to a bathroom, climate controlled, my own exit, and I want to park outside the facility. Well, that's could create them to build me my own office with an attached bathroom. That's a little extravagant because it's very expensive. Okay. So that would be an unreasonable accommodation. So what I recommend for my clients is to take your job description, go through that line by line or task by task, and mark those tasks that you're struggling with. Okay. Are there tasks in your job that aren't on your job description, but that you do? Write those tasks down that you're struggling with. And then look at those tasks individually and think, well, what kind of accommodation do I need to be able to do that task? What reasonable accommodation? Okay. And you might have to think outside of the box for this. So, some that I've helped clients do for reasonable accommodations is we have a lot of sensitivities. So, light sensitivities. Maybe I have to wear special glasses at the office. Maybe if I'm at a conference, I need to wear a hat to cover down the glare of the lights or the brightness of the lights. Noise bothers me. Maybe I need to wear hearing protection or earplugs or cut it out, so I need to have my own music in with my headphones. Okay. Smells, excuse me, smells bother me. So, you know, they should be following OSHA regulations as well with no candles. Um, No, like, those wax melt type things. A lot of those, are fragrance. Lotions, aftershaves, air fresheners, anything like that. I've helped individuals. I had one person who traveled for their job, um, to different conferences over the US. So we put in there that she could bring her service animal with her. She could have her own room because she had to have it dark, a certain temperature, no noise, that kind of thing. We had it in there that during the meetings, she could wear a hat, have a blanket, that kind of thing. Um, I've also helped individuals who would work from home so many hours a week to in the office so many hours a week. So, kind of what we're doing now after the pandemic with the hybrid stuff. And this was even before the pandemic, we worked on this together. So it's taking those things and thinking outside of that box. How can that help me? And like I said previously, if you have any questions on accommodations, you can send me an email, but also a good reference for that is jan.org, JAN.org. It's called the Job Accommodations Network. And you can ask them any questions at all, and they will respond within usually 24, 48 hours. And it doesn't really matter. Everything's anonymous, so they're not going to go back to your employer. They're not going to hunt you down. They take your question, they answer it, and they're on to something else. Okay. So don't feel like they're going to check up on you or report you to your employer or anything like that. Another thing that I stress that I've run into a couple times with my clients is once you ask for an accommodation, that accommodation needs to be in place as long as you are employed with the company. So I've had companies come back and say to their employees, no, we want you to go to the doctor every 30 days and recertify this. Well, that's not true. They can't do that because, like I said, once it's in place as long as you're employed. Now, if your health continues to deteriorate, you may have to update those accommodations and maybe include a couple more accommodations that you need. So keep that in mind as well. So talk to your boss. That comes up a lot. How much do I tell them? Do I tell them, you know, about my illness? Do I tell them everything? Well, one thing I always tell my clients is never tell your boss you can't do your job. And I'll tell you why. Because if you go into your boss and say, Julie, I can't do this job, what's he going to say? Well, this is the job you have. So I guess you can either put in for a different position or we're going to have to let you go. And I don't think that was your intent when you went in to talk to your boss. You probably were really saying, I can do my job, but there are a couple things that I need help with. And that's where those accommodations come in. So, how much do you tell them? You know, well, I always tell my clients it kind of depends on the company and it depends on your rapport with your boss. That's why I always promote when I'm working with businesses open lines of communication. Get to know your employees, build that personal connection and those relationships. Because if you feel comfortable with your boss, you can say, hey, I got a serious medical condition and I'm struggling with a few tasks. Now, can we work on some accommodations for those? And you'd probably feel pretty comfortable with that. But if you go into your boss and he's like, well, what do you want now? I suppose you're sick again or something like that. Your back is going to be pretty bristled and you're going to say, oh my God, I don't even want to talk to this guy. I don't want to tell him anything. So I think it's important to try to make that connection. Tell him in that situation as little as possible. Okay. And the other one, I'd probably feel more comfortable telling him more. Sometimes it's educating ourselves, but also educating our bosses. Some bosses will tell you, I have nobody working for me that has a serious medical condition or disability, chronic illness. But it shows in statistics, 6 out of 10 people have one chronic medical condition. 4 out of 10 have 2 or more. So if somebody thinks in a company of 100 people, they don't have anybody with a chronic illness, then they're fooling themselves. So that's where I think it's important that we educate our managers. You know, I have fibro. I worked in a medical environment. They had no idea what fibro was. I had to teach them what it was because I lived with it daily. They saw it daily. They saw it on my face. They saw it in my cognitive thinking challenges, in my memory. So I had to teach them when I'm having a bad day, this is what you're going to see. But it doesn't mean I can't do my job. It just meant today I'm struggling probably a little bit more than maybe I did yesterday or that I will tomorrow. So think of that when you're talking to your boss. Maybe they don't know what your illness is. Maybe they don't understand it. Okay? And the other thing I want to stress on this is he or she, I always say he, but he or she cannot tell other managers or your coworkers. And that's where that HIPAA comes into place. That's where that confidentiality comes into place. They shouldn't be discussing it with anybody else, period. It's only people on an as needed to know basis. So HR would need to know. Director levels, they may need to know that somebody has a condition, you're making accommodations, but you're able to do the job. That's about it. I always think that having a chronic illness, it takes a lot of work to learn how to manage it. It takes a lot of work for an individual to actually have a job, get up, show up the job every day, and have the energy for their family and for the things that bring them joy. One thing I want to stress here to all of you, because have a tendency to say yes to everything. Yes, we'll help with that. Yes, we'll do that. Yes, I want to attend. Yes, I'll be there. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. You need to learn to say no so you can say hell yes to the things that are important to you. So it is important to you to be on this Christmas committee? Is it important to you to bring snacks every Friday? Is it important for you to run for this position in PTA? Is it important for you to be at every social activity every Friday night? Is that going to exhaust you after working 40 hours a week? Say no to those things so that you can say hell yes to the things that are important to you. So, what are those things that are important to you? Those are the things that bring you joy in your life. Okay. Remember that you don't have to say yes to everything. The other thing I tell all of my clients is give yourself grace. Learn to give yourself grace. Because being a parent, being an employee, being a spouse, friend, sister, daughter, whatever it is hard work. Okay. It's hard work. Being sick is really hard work. Okay. It's hard work to feel good every day, to show up and be present in your life, be present in your kid's life, be present at your job. It's hard work when you feel like total crap. Okay. But you put them together and it's the hardest thing, and people will not understand it. That's just who our human nature. We don't get it. You look fine, you're fine. We don't get it. So give yourself grace. Don't compare yourself to everybody else. Because I'm going to tell you, I have fibro. I know Melissa has fibro. I have a lot of friends that have fibro, but I can't compare myself to them because how it affects me, how it affects my friend, how it affects Melissa, it's all different. We're all different. It affects us differently. So I can't compare myself like my friend Robin. She can do this, she can do this, she can do this. Why can't I do that? Okay. My friend Sally at work, she can do all these things. And why can't I do that? Okay. Why can't I do those things at work that they can do? Why can't I lift 50 pounds? Why can't I run 10 miles? Why can't I walk 3 blocks? Because you're not them. You're you, and it's going to be individual to you. Your journey's going to be different, and your treatments are going to be different. How you manage it is going to be different. So remember that as you're going through this journey, not only personally with what you're dealing with, but also at work. Even though you know somebody has lupus or fibro, don't compare yourselves to them because their journey is different than yours. So I always like to ask my clients, looks like my pictures all moved when I uploaded my PowerPoint. So I apologize for that. They're looking a little screwy there. But know your why. Why do you want to feel better? Why are you working? Why do you want to get out of bed every morning? Know your why. Is it because of your family? In that picture, my husband and I are with 3 or 4 kids. One of my reasons for wanting to feel better was for my family. When I first started my journey, I was a single mom raising 2 kids. Okay. My why? I wanted to be present for those kids. I wanted to see them graduate high school, see them graduate college, see them in a career. Hopefully, they'll get married. Hopefully, they'll have children. Hopefully, I wanted to be there for all of that. I wanted to be there for their school activities. Those are my whys. Maybe it's for your spouse. Maybe it's because you want to travel with your spouse. You want to do things with your spouse. You just want to sit and watch a movie together with your spouse. You want to go to dinner with them. Maybe it's for yourself and the activities that bring you joy. Maybe for me, it was learning how to walk again for go up to 3 miles. Now I'm running 3 miles. I'm biking, I'm hiking. Those are the activities for myself is one of my whys because it brings me joy. And the other thing is friends and social. That's a good picture upside down there. But I like to spend time with one of my best friends. We like to go places together. My husband says one of the greatest joys is to see her and I sit on our back patio and watch Family Feud and a conversation and the laughs we have out of that. That brings me joy. It brings a smile to my face. So what's your why? Think of what your why is and keep that foremost in front in your mind. When we long for life without difficulties, remind us that oaks grow strong in contrary winds and diamonds are made under pressure. So think of that. We want a life without difficulties. Okay. We want a life without fibro, without that chronic illness, without that lupus, whatever it may be. We want that easy life, but it's not going to be that way because look at how things have developed over time, natural things. Those are our challenges. We need to embrace the life that we have, that we're given right now, embrace it, learn to manage it, and bring back that joy into your life. So I just want to wrap up and tell you all thank you. Here's my contact information. You can email me at jhamilton@coachingpi.com or my website, it's coachingpi.com. And PI stands for positive influence because I think if we have that positive mind, it affects how we think and it affects how we feel. So I use that in my coaching practice is positivity. We celebrate those little wins, those little goals we've met. I call them happy dances. So that's where the PI comes into.
Thank you, Julie, so much for this presentation. I'm going to bring us back here. And I wanted to let everybody know, because there's a lot of questions going on. I embedded your talk in a Discord chat, particularly because there was a lot of questions. So there's a lot of questions coming in on this and the importance of it. Well, I'm not trying to break the internet, although we have with me embedding everybody all over the internet. So I need to emphasize too, and we'll get into this as well, with asking Julie some really important questions on even getting started with what she has to offer. Because just to remind people, she has a book, she shared her website as well. So this is great content to emphasize for all of you, because I'm seeing all the questions here. It's a youth-driven chronic illness group at work. So they want to learn all this stuff. But thank you, Julie, for the presentation.
You're welcome. I love sharing it because I'm passionate about, I'm one of those HR geeks. It's a passion of mine, even though I don't work in it anymore. And all my other passion is helping others with a chronic illness, especially fibromyalgia, learn how to manage it and how to continue working.
Well, it's important information to share with people, and just getting in touch with you and understanding, because this can be a scary place for a lot of us with
Mhm.
work history. And I can attest to having a terrible work history, because I didn't know any of this when I was in my 20s and 30s trying to manage fibromyalgia. And I didn't want to address it. So most of the times I just disappeared. And in our community too, balancing, like, you're making a living, you're going to work, what does that look like? And supporting people along the way. That's why this information is so valuable. And I know this broadcast is together with other content. So we're going to break up the speakers and have your individual content there. And we're going to make sure people have all the description and information for you. I do want to throw it over to my co-host for their questions. So Danielle, did you have any questions to start?
First, I want to say we definitely need more HR people that have the experience and knowledge that you do. How do you think we can get employers to better support the accessibility at the workplace, so that, like, it's already available, so that when we go and we ask for these, they already have like a plan in place, and we're not the ones like having to try to figure this out. They already have, like, here's a list of, like, okay, here's what we can do for you. How can we make that happen?
Well, that's kind of why I wrote the book, is to help employers get to that aspect. And I'm trying to work with employers to let them know you need to do training. You need to do training from the top down, or the down bottom up. It doesn't matter. Everyone needs it, because you as an employee should know what's available. I, as a manager, should know what's available. I should be able to tell you, here's the paperwork, or this is where you go on the intranet, or this is it where it is in the handbook. It doesn't matter, but I should know and you should know. I think that's so important.
Absolutely. I
So
think
I
your
think
book
it's,
should be a manual.
yeah, it should so it should be policies in place. Everybody should be aware of it. There should be training done, you know. Have an outside consultant come in and do that training for you, because if you don't know what you don't know, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that is definitely a huge problem. I was gonna ask too, because a lot of people, with the medical issues, work part-time because they can't work full-time. I know you were saying family medical leave, but are there other protections that are only for full-time, not for part-time?
And actually, there are some, you can do Family Medical Leave Act if you're working a part-time. The hours are reduced and stuff like that. I just didn't cover it today
Uh,
because I wanted to stay within my time limit, but it does apply to that as well. So you can reach out to me. You can ask your employer about it. It just reduces the time that you can be off work.
Okay, but most of the, like, asking for accessibility and recommend or all of that is allowed, I guess, part-time work usually.
You mean like job accommodations?
Yes, yeah. I
Yes,
brain fog.
absolutely. Yep, absolutely. They're allowed for that because you can still do the job. You just might need a little help in this area or with this task. So that's available. HIPAA, the confidentiality, the disabilities, all of that is available to you as a part-time.
Okay, yeah, that's great because I mean I work part-time, so I know a lot of
Mhm.
people with medical issues work part-time, and with HIPAA, like a lot of people who are vocal about, say, like like me, I'm on here talking about fibromyalgia. So if you are on the internet, you know, and say, "Oh, I have fibromyalgia," but then you go and you say, "Oh, hey, I need uh, help with my job for fibromyalgia." Does HIPAA still apply where they can't, you know, go talk and saying, "Oh, hey, Danielle has fibromyalgia"?
Yep.
Okay.
Because this is outside of work,
Yeah.
that's inside of work, and they have to respect your confidentiality at work.
Okay. That's
Okay.
great to know.
Those are fantastic questions, Danielle, and there's so much to dive into in this presentation, especially with HIPAA and having worked with like startup companies that don't exactly have HR. Ooh,
Yeah.
I could ask a ton of questions, but I do want to hand it over to Mrs. Q to go with her questions as well next.
I just want to thank you for this presentation. I hope all my warriors that follow me are looking at this and or come back to this because we really needed to hear this. It's a touchy subject in our community, even with mental health. A lot of mental health goes in with fibromyalgia, so I'm so glad. It was a wonderful presentation. I thank you so much for it. I am one of those people that walked away from being in the office and started working from home. When you're talking about accommodations, can they ask for the same accommodations, even if they're working virtually from home or physically in the job? Are they the same rules when it comes to HR and asking for accommodations and things like that? Is it the same rules?
Mhm. Yes, it is. So let's say they provide you with the equipment to work at home, the computer, all of
Mhm,
that. They can provide you with a sit-to-stand desk. Okay.
mhm,
That would be the best thing for you because if you're sitting all day long, what
mhm.
are you? You're stiff. You
Yeah,
hurt.
yeah.
Okay. Sit-to-stand desks anymore aren't that expensive, and that
Mhm,
really helps. Um, even with maybe adjusting your hours a little bit more because I found that some people with fibro or a chronic illness are more productive when they're from
mhm,
home
mhm.
because they don't spend all their spoons before they get to work.
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Do you find that when I went to my job regarding getting accommodations for my fibro, I think I was one of the first people in our company just so are you seeing now resistance from the companies because they don't know about fibro, so they at first they're looking at it like it's really not a disability, or are you looking at, are companies more accepting? Do you have to like really train them on the different disabilities when it comes to fibromyalgia? Because I know for my company they kept asking my doctor for work for all kind of information because they just had not they've had all of these disabilities but not fibromyalgia. So is that something that is an Achilles heel when it comes to getting accommodations?
It can be because I'll tell you, there are doctors that don't even believe it's actual. So think
Yes,
how companies or managers in a workplace feel, you know?
absolutely.
And again, they don't know what they don't know. They don't understand what it is. So sometimes it's you as an employee kind of educating them.
Hmm.
Another tool that I've devised is what I call like a HR tool.
Hmm.
And I send it out to my clients and stuff so they can take it to their managers because I list in there things you might see. Okay, you might see me and you might think, oh my God, she had a rough night. She must have got drunk last night. But
Hmm.
what you're seeing is a hangover from my fibro. I didn't sleep well. I'm tired. I didn't sleep well, so I have cognitive thinking challenges. These are the things your managers are going to see, but this is
Right.
what you're feeling.
Right. Well, thank
So,
you so much. That's all my questions. I can actually I can literally have you on the stage for about 3 hours with everything.
Yeah, that is a
um,
great idea.
so thank you again so much for this. This is a great. So thank you again.
you're welcome.
Oh, I wanted to ask real quick, just one question. So when you're going through health issues, because obviously like fibromyalgia and other chronic illnesses can take, like 10 years to get diagnosed. So at what point do you recommend going to your HR department to ask for these accommodations? Because if you don't have a diagnosis, you might feel like, oh, they're not going to help me, or,
That's kind of a catch-22 right there.
Yeah.
They say a definition of a chronic illness is anything that's long term. So if you're seeking medical attention for longer than 6 to 12 months, which, you know, 3 years, 4 years
Yeah.
to get diagnosed, that's considered long term. And the other part is you're seeking medical attention on a regular basis.
Right.
Okay. Obviously, you're seeking it a lot to try to figure out why you don't feel good
Yeah.
and what your diagnosis is. So I think it could be categorized as a chronic illness, and then you could apply for your FMLA.
Okay. Thank you. I
That's
appreciate it. I
my
think we'll
opinion.
send
And if I was your HR, that's how I would administer it. Okay.
I think we'll be sending a lot of people your way for advice. Everything.
Well, I know we will be sending a lot of people because this is an important question and it's not addressed enough. And it's important for all spectrum and ages. And I know I have a special heart for people that develop a chronic illness in their youth at a young age, and it's throws all of this work life in just a hard place to like try to manage, and it's really scary to see what that would be for all of the people in the youth spectrum as well. So that's why I find hope in your presentation in the fact that there is someone like yourself advocating for people like us. I wish this was available. We do need to get this in more of the employers' hands and understanding these dynamics. So I do encourage everybody to connect with Julie, learn about her services, because this is affordability. I mean, there's a lot of decisions being made before you leave a job, because some people in our community consider they can't work, but have they tried this approach before they consider leaving the job? Like, have they done everything that they can? And maybe there is other accommodations like working from home and those things. So, Julia, yeah, we could talk for 3 hours, as Mrs. Q said. What's ahead for you in 2024?
Well, I just want to keep pushing it out there for individuals as well as companies that we need to mesh this world together because, and this is my belief, that with the pandemic, okay, after that, we're going to have more diagnosis of chronic illnesses. Okay. As you mentioned, it's the youth coming up. How did that affect them? The stress. How did it affect parents? The stress of being at home now. They're a mother, they're a teacher, they're, all of this. It in long COVID, how, people with long COVID. And then if you already had an illness, how did long COVID affect your lupus? How did long COVID affect your fibro? So, and I think as our society keeps moving forward, it's going to be more stressful and financial burdens with the way the economies are. So I really think in 24, it's trying to mesh those two worlds together. Chronically ill, the employer bring those together, have them be aware of it, and just do more training.
We need a lot more training, and you have a lot of support because it's not just fibromyalgia. As you mentioned, there's a lot of chronic illness conditions out there, and everybody wants their an employer to understand what they're going to because it's a part of quality of life. Again, making a living,
Yes.
supporting family, wanting to work. We want to work. And trying to add this aspect of protection and feeling a little bit safer at work is an important piece of the puzzle, whether you're going into an office or you work remotely.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
we need you, especially on the healthcare side. I see Mo is here, and I know with her background in healthcare too, just finding it tough to prove
Hmm.
is challenging, as we addressed too.
Yep. Yep.
Well, I'm so glad that you're here with us. Thank you. Again, please keep us posted if you host any workshops or other engagements. We're going to share your content because I know you've done interviews on podcasts. I
Hmm.
know you've done other work, and we'll share. If anybody's out there on LinkedIn, please share this information too. Share what Julie posts on
Hmm.
LinkedIn so that other employers could see this information and get the training implemented to help everybody in the
Yeah.
system.
And get
Yeah.
her book.
Yeah. And I am going to be teaching a virtual class, February 21st on this very subject. And so I'll try to get the information to you, Melissa, so you can kind of get it out there as well.
Definitely. We're going to promote it. I know that there's questions coming in from that Discord community. So we're sending them to grab your book and your website because a lot of them it's average age is 25 and
Yep.
they don't know how to approach, how much to share with their boss because that can be a tricky subject. I mean, maybe your
Hmm.
boss makes you feel comfortable, but how much is too much?
Yeah.
To share. So we
Yep.
look forward to that talk, and we'll spread it far and wide.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you
you.
everyone for tuning in, and thank you Julie for being here. So we're gonna move Julie backstage, and we're gonna let Mrs. Q give an introduction as well to her or her presentation. Okay, so Mrs. Q, are you ready? And Quinette from Freddie J's Fibro Fighters. I know we have your video we're going to play here to close out the session. But can you give us a little bit too about maybe what's ahead for Freddie J's Fibro Fighters in 2024?
Oh, what isn't ahead? Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of the conference again this year. For going into the future, we're doing some pilot programs. We're looking at doing job boards for those specifically for the chronic pain community to help them work. That's why I was so interested in this particular presentation that we did to get them more working, because a lot of times in our community we feel like we can't work or we're on disability and we can't work, but you can if that's something you would like to do. And when you have a chronic pain illness like fibromyalgia, a lot of times work is the furthest thing that we want to think about, but a lot of times it can help us get through the day and things like that. I am throwing my head into the mental health ring because mental health and fibro seem to go hand in hand with each other. So I will be doing some advocacy on that. I am trying to partner with a family member in the younger sector of the community of those with fibro, those with mental health, and bridging that gap between the two. I will be publishing my book, and which is a book for youngsters who do not understand what fibromyalgia is and mommy's sick or dad's sick and why they're in the bed. So a children's book on fibromyalgia, and that's one of the few things that we're going to be doing. And we're going to be piloting some different programs when it comes to foods and things like that. So that's what we're going into 2024 doing.
Yay, I'm excited to work with you and collaborate. And I'm always connecting the community together. So I knew that it's definitely good for you to be on the same program with Julie. I want you two to connect because I know that you're a tremendous resource for your community, not only in Michigan, but all over the internet. You have a very active Facebook group and community online, even with TikTok. So making sure you and Julie connect was important, plus with the podcast. And mental health, we're going to have to make sure you connect with Persevere and Win. So it's building this community together, and that's why it's important. And we'll share all of your information from the organization also in the description, because you provide such an inspiration of hope. I know I was testing your video today and I was listening to in the background, and it got me focused and reminded me that even through all of this maybe potential stress of this conference, that we still have this hope and community and collaboration happening. And I got to remember myself to lean into that. So you gave me a lot of good words of wisdom this morning. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I love this community, and I'm just glad that we're all coming together and networking. I love conferences like this because it's such a wealth of information. Like I have to go back and still be like, okay, this, and this, and this. I love stuff like this. So thank you so much for letting me be a part of it.
Of course, I lean into love of learning. That is one of my top character strengths. So I throw in all the education. And for people out there, you can watch this content on replay. We'll be adding more content because we love education in 2024. There'll be more interviews with Anquinette and Freddie J's Fibro Fighters. And we look forward to seeing you in DC.
Yes.
We get to meet in person. I love meeting in person. I know it takes a lot of effort, and I kind of scare people because I'm like thrilled. You'll see my voice go to an extra octave as I celebrate. But Anquinette, I'm really excited to meet her because we've been working together for more than a few years and all collaboration. So I can't wait to meet people.
Yes. And I also will be going into coaching as well, chronic pain coaching. I'm getting my feet wet on it. I have been certified, but I just want to do some more classes to be a little bit more confident in what I'm doing. So I'll be doing that as well. And I can't wait to see you guys in DC as well. We always talking virtually, so I'm glad to see you physically and things like that. So yeah.
Well, I'm excited. So let's play. We'll close out with your hope interview in the fibromyalgia community.
Right.
And then we have Nikki after that, right?
Yeah, at 3 p.m. So that's going to be premiering at, I think I got that right. I'm so messed up with my time zones. That'll be premiering on YouTube with a live chat.
Okay.
So here we go.
Okay. Bye-bye, you guys. Hello, my name is Anquinette Rollins, also known as Mrs. Q. I am from Freddie J's Fibromyalgia Fighters, and I'm here to bring you today a presentation on hope. I would like to take the time out right now to thank Support Fibromyalgia for putting on this wonderful conference and allowing a little time for my voice to be heard. Thank you again for everyone that has came to the conference looking for the information and getting your information. But while you're getting this information, I want you to understand, as a person that deals with fibromyalgia myself, I want you to have hope. I want you to have a hope for the future. We've come a long way from where we were with fibromyalgia before, and we're going a long way into the future. Organizations like Support Fibromyalgia and my organization itself, we come together to bring you the education to get you what you need every year and throughout the year, so you'll have the support, the education, the resources, everything you need to help you in your fight with fibromyalgia. Every day is not going to be a good day, but you know what? Every day is not going to be a bad day. And with all that is going on, I want you to have hope. There was a time when I was diagnosed in 2008, which is not that far, although it seems like it's not that far long ago, where I did not have hope. I was in a dark hole like a lot of us was, because there was just I didn't have the information. I didn't know where to get the information. My life was medication in bed. I was a minimum parent. I was a person who was very active that went to someone who could hardly move. I was in pain, real pain, every day. And then a little light bulb went off in me. And I understood that not only can my doctor help me, but I can help myself. We can help each other and we can learn from each other. And once you understand that you have hope and that you have faith and you know that you will get better, that's half of the battle, because now you just need to get the things together to get you to that point where you're having better days, when you're having days where you can get out the bed. And on those days when you're having those days when you can't get out the bed, you make the best use of your time while you're in there. You might be able to sit up. If your win for the day is sitting up and going to the bathroom, that's a win for the day. And I want you to understand that hope comes small and it comes big. But I want you to always have hope in your ability to be better, to get better, to feel better, to be better for you, your family, as a person. I know the blow that fibromyalgia can come with. I lost my career. I was a person who lost a lot of friends who didn't understand. And I lost some family as well who didn't understand my limitations that came with my fibromyalgia. You have a real disability. Never let anyone discount that. Never let anyone make you feel lesser than because of that. Because you have hope. You have hope for a better day. You know that there was a time where you can remember not long ago where you lived without pain, but you know what? You might not live without 100% pain, but you can get your pain level down to the point where you're able to have a more active lifestyle, a viable lifestyle. And we look for a viable treatment plan in our doctors, but you know what? We're going to help our doctors get us to where we need to help get to as well. We know that there's minimal medication out there that helps us. We know that a lot of times we face a uphill battle with our medical providers, but we can keep that hope within ourselves that it will get better, because you know what? It will. It will. Take it from someone that went from being in bed almost every day, that couldn't move without an ounce of pain going through my body. I am here now. I'm here to show you that there is hope. If you ever want to understand that there is an example of fibromyalgia, you can look at me. You can look at Melissa Talwell. You can look at Crystal. You can look at us. We are people who live every day with fibromyalgia, and we do whatever it takes to be able to get up and to show up for you. We come together with all these great providers, all of these great organizations, everything in one place to let you know that there is hope. We're going into the future with a bang when it comes to fibromyalgia. We will get to a cure. I believe that. I believe that. I have hope in that. And until we get to that cure, we are going to help doctors get us to a viable treatment plan where we can really get out there and we can work. We can really get out there and we can go grocery shopping. We can cook and things like that. Always have hope in yourself and have faith in the ability of yourself and for those around you that will give you the power and the help and the push forward to have the hope that we need when it comes to fibromyalgia. Always remember, I call you warriors. You know why you're a warrior? Yes, you are a warrior. Because anybody that can get out their bed and for years and days and months, you get out and you move. I don't care if you sit up, you do something every day. I don't care if it's just brush your teeth. In the amount of pain that a lot of us are in, a lot of us are able to do it with a smile on our face. That's a warrior. You show up and you show out and you keep doing that. Show up for yourself. And when you have times where you don't think that you can do this, guess what? You can. Show up for yourself. Have hope, because we have hope for you. Just like you have hope and dreams that you'll have a better future with fibromyalgia and chronic pain, we have hope and dreams, and we know that we're going to get there because we have organizations like Support Fibro and doctors or organizations that are willing to come and bring you the information, bring you the education to get you where you need to go. All you have to do is just sit there and say, okay, we're going to do this. If you ever need support, you have my organization, you have Support Fibro. Many fibromyalgia and chronic pain organizations are out there waiting to help you. Never be ashamed to say, I need help. Never be ashamed to say, hey, I'm going through this. Has anybody can help me with this? 99.9% of the time, we've heard of all, and we can send you somewhere or we can get the information to you. Have hope. Believe in yourself. Never stop believing in yourself. You will get there. If you're not able to walk 10 steps today, that's okay. Take one step at a time because that's all you need. You need that glimmer of hope that it's going to be okay. Take it from someone who got diagnosed, and I literally laid in the bed from about 2008 to about 2014. That was my life because I didn't see any hope. No doctor was able to tell me anything better. I was just getting medication at the medication, and then one day I just woke up and said, "Well, maybe I'll have to do this myself. Maybe I'm gonna have to figure this out myself." Nobody knows your body better than you. So when you go to your doctor, you can say, "Look, I know you said this and this, but my body is saying this and this." There's a conversation you can have with your doctors. There's a conversation that you can have with your family to let them understand that, yes, I am having some troubles, but the hope is still in me that I'm going to get where I need to go to. So lift your head up, smile. If you must cry and yell, go ahead and cry and yell. We've all had those days. But when you get through, you brush yourself off and you keep going with that hope that you're going to get where you need to go. Pain free or less pain, you're going to get there. And always, always believe in yourself. We believe in you. Believe in yourself as others believe in you because it will get there. You will have those trying times. You will have those times where you don't think the doctor's listening, the family is listening. Don't worry about that. Inner self of you is listening, and show up for yourself every single time, even in pajamas, even with your hair standing straight up on your head, even with one eye open. Show up for yourself because you are the biggest fighter in this, and you are who we are fighting for. And you have to fight for yourself as well as we fight for you. I thank you so much for listening to my presentation today or my thoughts on fibromyalgia and where we are looking into the future. If you have any questions, you can always find Miss Q on any of your social medias under Freddie J's Fibro. I am from Freddie J's Fibromyalgia Fighters. Thank you again, Support Fibro, for having this wonderful conference and giving me time to just speak to the listeners to understand that there is hope in the fibro fight. And thank you and have a great day.
Thank you to all our fibromyalgia friends. Thank you, Mrs. Q and Freddie J's Fibro Fighters team for joining us today and presenting hope. Yes, there is hope. Please lean into that right now, especially. Just know that you are loved in our community, and we will see you tomorrow. Thank you so much.